Sometimes it feels like the news just keeps piling on, leaving little room to breathe. This is 10 Better Minutes, a space for stories that quietly remind us there is more to the world than what grabs the headlines. Each episode shares recent real-life moments that offer a steadier, more balanced perspective without ignoring the challenges we all face. I am your host, Ian Rhodes, and I appreciate you taking a few minutes to be here today. We will hear about a rare tiger making its way back to the wild after decades, and a tiny new arrival at a zoo that connects us to conservation efforts. But first, we will start with a story about how simple activities like swimming and running are helping people find connection and ease loneliness. We all know that lonely feeling where moving your body is not the problem, it is the lack of someone to move with. That is where these 3 community groups are doing something quietly powerful. They use sport and movement as a doorway into connection, confidence, and everyday support. First, Sport and Mind, founded in 2010, has supported more than 60,000 people, running free sessions for people experiencing mental health problems in partnership with the NHS and community partners. The idea is simple and kind. You show up, you get moving, and you do it in a space where you are not just a participant, you are part of a group with a routine. Then there are the Bluetits Chill Swimmers. Started in Wales and now growing into a global network, these groups are volunteer-led. They meet outdoors to swim, dip, and chat, and somewhere between the cold water and the friendly faces, people often find their nerve and their belonging. And GoodGym takes exercise and turns it outward. Instead of training only for yourself, runners and walkers help local projects, clearing gardens, sorting donations for food banks, and supporting isolated older people with practical tasks. What ties them together is trust in people. Sport becomes more than activity. It becomes a regular route back to purpose, companionship, and the steady comfort of knowing your community is there, session after session. On tour in Japan, comedian Atsuko Okatsuka wanted her first live audience to feel close, not distant, and she reached for a simple daily phrase that carries a whole world of comfort. She was performing her first live show as she toured Japan on March 25, 2024, and she paused long enough to speak directly to the crowd with Tadema, which means, I am home. It was a small invitation, the kind you might say without thinking, but she said it with intention, like finally finishing a sentence she had been holding for years. Then the audience answered, all at once with Okaeri, the welcome home reply, spoken back in Japanese like a chorus. Okatsuka later shared the moment on Trevor Noah's podcast, What Now? And you could feel how real it was. She said she was in tears when the call and response landed. She had been moved from Japan as a child, and for 7 years she lived in Los Angeles, carrying an unfinished goodbye from that early chapter. So that crowd, responding in her language, did something practical and tender at the same time. It gave her a place to set down the rest of that goodbye. And maybe that is what belonging really looks like. Not fireworks, just a shared word said, back and forth until the heart hears, we are here and you are home. When a place brings something powerful back to life, it can feel like hope made visible. Today, we are looking at a careful, long effort in Kazakhstan that has reached a historic milestone. Kazakhstan released a female Amur tiger named Hope into the Il-Balkhash Nature Reserve, marking the first tiger return to that historical range in more than 70 years. The release followed a project established in 2018 to reintroduce tigers, but it was never only about one big moment. Before Hope went into the wild, veterinarians examined her and fitted her with a GPS tracking collar. Then she was driven into the reserve as part of a planned transfer. At the ceremony, the Minister of Ecology and Natural Resources, Yerlan Nisanbayev, spoke about what it takes to make rewilding work, not just once but over time. The foundation had been building quietly for years. In 2020, Bushara deer were re-established, and later the project brought in Saiga antelope and the Asiatic wild ass, also known as kulan. And while Hope began her journey in open habitat, 3 other tigers were released first into large enclosures, including a male Amur and 2 cubs from Russia's Khabarovsk Reserve. What I love most is that this is Hope with a plan. There is a dedicated team ready to respond if a tiger approaches populated areas, and the broader work continues through monitoring and adapting. For now, Hope's arrival offers a simple message. When communities invest patiently in habitat and care, the future can move forward in a real, living way. I've always liked the idea that the most chaotic places in the sky can still teach us how to live more safely on the ground. Astronomers have captured the highest resolution images yet of the sun's surface, and they show swirling plasma patterns that some observers have compared to Vincent van Gogh's The Starry Night. Those bright moving shapes matter because they are tied to how energy travels through the sun. For years, scientists have been trying to understand what those motions mean for space weather, the kind of activity that can interfere with satellites, disrupt GPS communication, and even affect power grids here on Earth. The new images give researchers a clearer window into the sun's internal energy flow, not just a general impression, but more detailed structure to study and compare. What makes this feel uplifting is that better viewing can lead to better anticipation. We cannot control the sun, but we can learn from it. With sharper observational detail, scientists hope they can improve space weather predictions, so disruptions are less surprising and more manageable for the technology that modern life depends on. It is a reminder that progress often looks quiet at first, like a better image, followed by a deeper understanding, and eventually the chance to protect what we rely on. There are days when a whole corner of the world seems to breathe a little easier, especially when a new life arrives and proves that care can matter. This is one of those stories, rooted in a zoo birth and reaching outward into conservation. About a week ago, the Toronto Zoo welcomed a new Pygmy hippo calf. The labor was active for about 1.5 hours, and shortly after, the calf showed tiny feet. Within 15 minutes, it began teetering, and by 4.5 hours after birth, it was confidently nursing. The mother is Kindia, a 20-year-old hippo, and the father is Harvey, 31. For privacy, Kindia and the calf are resting behind the scenes, and the zoo is simply sharing that both are doing well. Here is what makes this moment feel bigger than a single enclosure. Pygmy hippos are endangered, with wild numbers believed to be around 2,000 to 3,000. So every healthy newborn is not just a tender milestone, but also a practical step forward for a species under pressure. The zoo ties the celebration to action through its Endangered Species Reserve Fund, which supports the Ivory Coast Pygmy Hippo program. If you feel like hope should be something you can touch, this is it. A calf takes its first brave steps, and caring people can help keep that care going, one contribution at a time. As always, I have a wonderful tip for you to help with your mental reset and find a little more ease in your day. Today, we are talking about checking in on the person who seems strong but tired. Sometimes the people who look most together are carrying the most quietly. You might notice they are a bit slower to respond, or they show up with a smile but their eyes look distant. Or maybe they keep saying they are fine, even when you can tell they are running low. So try this simple approach. Start with something specific and kind. Instead of asking, "How are you?" you can say, "I've noticed you have been handling a lot lately and I wanted to check in." Then give them room to answer without pressure. You can add, "If you are up for it, I would love to hear what it has been like. If not, I am still here." Follow through in a way that actually helps. Offer a practical option like taking a short walk, grabbing a coffee, or sending a message just to say, "I thought of you." And if they do not share much, do not read it as a rejection. Your presence is the point. That kind of care does not fix everything. It reminds someone they do not have to hold it alone. Well, friends, that is the episode, and we have made it to the end of our 10 better minutes together. I hope what lingers for you is not a list of headlines, but a steadier feeling that people still show up for each other, that kindness and decency are still present in ordinary places, and that quiet hope keeps moving forward, even when the world gets loud. If you have something good that you think others might have missed, please drop a link to a positive story or share a local moment in the comments. Those suggestions genuinely help, and we can all keep each other anchored. This is Ian Rhodes with 10 Better Minutes. Take care, and I will see you tomorrow.